too. The other thing too, I said it last time. I will send out the replay link if you want it. Last time I dropped, Kajabi is what I use to keep track of people's emails and stuff. That plus my newsletter. So at the end, I will drop Kajabi the link again. Just put in your email, and usually Zoom takes like an hour plus to like process things. I'll get it sent out whether it's later today or tomorrow morning. Although candidly, this afternoon I have to go to the dentist, so I'll probably be out of commission for some of the afternoon because I'm not looking forward to that one bit. I hate the dentist. All right, cool. Let me share my screen and we're going to get started. So I had a little fun with this in terms of combining my football background. So a little bit about me for those that have not been on my talks before, heard me talk before. I was a college football coach before I got into the recruitment space. And in 2015, I got out of college coaching and went into working for an agency. And I've been doing that since then. Basically left for a couple of years to sell SaaS, was successful there, and then got back into it. And over the last 3 years, I've now helped recruitment business owners, individual contributors, really anyone in the recruitment space that says, Keely, I need help from a new client, BD process, sales system perspective. That's what I've been helping with the last 3 years. And in the fall of last year, I actually got back into coaching high school football. Had a ton of fun with it. And so I decided, hey, let's combine my two things together. I'll say the same thing I said on the last workshop too. The slides you see here, they're my ideas, but I had Claude go and build the thing. So again, if you haven't been using Claude Cowork, even just messing around with it, I highly, highly, highly recommend it because it can take some rough ideas and at the very least put together what I would consider like a pretty decent slide deck. Like it's the world's greatest. No, I'm not a graphic designer by any means, but it's actually a pretty solid starting point. There's some things I'd probably tweak and fix and make some, adjustments formatting wise, but overall it's pretty good. From hey, this is my idea, Claude. I got this upcoming talk. I'm going to talk to you because that's what I do. Like this morning I was on a walk and I just talked to Claude in Claude chat. And by the time I get back to sit down at my desk again, it's created a working an MVP, right? A minimal viable product from a slides perspective. So that's that so far. Any questions, again, feel free to jump in. But today's focus, again, is around the fulfillment side because as you can see on this, what I think, my own personal opinion, is these are some of the things that slow us all down when it comes to the search side of stuff. And so I created some skills, which skills are agents. It's just what Claude calls skills that go and do the work on my behalf. Now, with it, I'm gonna close my window real quick too. I hear my kids out there screaming. A fun screaming, by the way. But with it, creating these skills, aka these agents, it takes time and effort and work, and you want to train it to create reliable outputs over and over again. And the way to do that is to have your processes dialed in from your head to literally pen to paper, and then from pen to paper into Claude. That's how I recommend anyone trying to build a skill is take what you're already doing, put your thoughts on paper, and then work with Claude to turn that into a skill. Because that's really how I've been doing it since this came out in January. And I even looked it up. Claude Cowork was released on January 12th, 2026. And I think I've been working within Cowork since January 13th, like every single day, basically, even on weekends, just because when it did come out, I saw this as finally that barrier of entry to work with it seemed to have lowered in terms of someone like me who I don't consider myself to be very technical. Up until then, there's this Claude code, and like my buddy's software engineer, he's telling me how great it is. I'm like, dude, I don't know anything about coding. This stuff, like it's numbers and letters, it's all over my head. But then Cowork comes out, it's like, look, just talk to it and we'll be able to do some stuff for you. I'm like, well, that seems pretty cool. And so I literally just started playing with it since January 13th. I've been in Cowork, messing around with it and getting it to the point where for me personally, it's become like a second employee. And I'm a solopreneur myself. I mean, my wife helps me out too. So I guess technically she's the second employee, but it's basically like having my own personal VA to help me with a lot of the administrative stuff that I do. Like case in point, because of all these workshops I've been doing, actually, what I found myself doing after the first one was I was taking the attendee list, I was cross-referencing who was there, and I actually created a skill based off of these workshops I've been having to take the list, drop it into Claude. It will tag everyone that attended. It'll update you in my HubSpot, which is my CRM, and it'll drop you into Kajabi, and it saved me an hour worth of like manual work is now done because I documented my process manually and then create a skill afterwards. And like that's an ever evolving thing too. And I know I'm a little bit going on a tangent. It's not even fulfillment focused, but I'm just trying to get everyone into the mindset of like using Cowork. If you find yourself doing a repeatable process week in and week out, there's a good chance Claude can at least handle some of that, if not all, of the heavy lifting piece from the repetitive piece. So here I'm going to walk through. Again, I talked a little bit about skill. It's your process. Like, just think of it like that. Skill equals process. What is my process? Claude will run it the same way every time if you can articulate it step by step. This is what I want to have accomplished. If you just go into Claude, case in point down here, right? It's not a prompt. It's not this one-off thing where like you drop in this prompt one time and then maybe it kind of works and you got to tweak a little bit. It's like, no, you should have this thing documented out. And I'll show some examples here in a minute of like, here's step one I want to have happen. Here's step two. Here's step three. And Claude will run through each one of those steps. So that way the output is the same over and over again. And if it's not, which happens, like candidly, like there's going to be, if you're messing around with Cowork, you'll probably be times you're like frustrated. There's like tweaks. It's like, I didn't want this to show up. I didn't want that. You're going to have to go in and update, again, that skill. It's the agent. You have to go in and update the skill itself to reflect what you want to see change on the output side of things. It's not code too, right? Again, this isn't Claude code where, again, I'm not a software engineer. My buddy is. I'm going to see him next week in Minnesota. Like, I'll talk to him about this Claude stuff. I know he uses code all the time. Code works for me. Give it to me, non-technical guy. I can talk to Claude. I know my processes. I can work back and forth. I don't do the coding side of stuff. But if you know your processes, you can build a skill to put into Claude and use forever. And also, if you've got a team too, I'm actually doing a workshop next week with an owner and his team to talk through some of these things. And if you've got a team, you can work together to create a skill yourself and then deploy it amongst the rest of the team because you can share skills. It isn't just yours if you don't want it to be. Meaning if you have a standardized process for your firm and you said, this is what I want to have happen each and every time from a candidate submittal perspective, you can create the skill and then share it with the rest of your team. And so every time they go in and say, hey, I'm submitting X candidate to Y client, Claude will know this is exactly what you want from a formatting, from an output perspective, even how you want the candidate presented as well. And again, the skill's only as good as you know how well you know your own workflow. My favorite thing that I've seen recently on the internet in regards to AI was how AI in and of itself, it is the collective knowledge of like the world because it's scraped the internet basically. And so AI by default tries to give the most average answer, meaning like it'll hit home or it'll apply to most of the world when you ask it a question because it's trying to find the baseline, the average response. And so if you go in and just say, hey, I want to create a BD process, it'll give you an average BD process. I want to create a submittal process. It'll try to average out what it thinks you want from a submittal perspective because its whole goal is trying to make you happy essentially. But if you go in and say, hey, I want to create a submittal process and here's what I expect. Here's what I want from an output perspective. Here's what I want from a formatting perspective. Here's what I want from the write-up perspective. Here's what I want you to find in the transcript from the key candidate experience perspective. And I'll show some real examples of what that looks like here in a minute. If you can articulate all that stuff, you can turn that process that's in your brain into a reusable skill within Cowork. And so today, I got, again, this is the lineup, right, from my coaching background. Again, I use Claude to help me. Like, I bounce ideas off Claude. I'm like, look, I kind of want to combine these football ideas. Like, here's some terms I use and stuff like that. And here's the NFL stuff and all that. And it came up with some clever ideas to rename some of the stuff that I'm using anyways. So like a job in order intakes called the install, the tag, the draft board, film study, and ultimately the call up, which is the candidate submission piece as well. So questions so far before I kind of pull up Claude and show some examples here in a second of like this one. Yeah, go ahead, April.
Okay, sorry. It's not about the skills, but this is what I'm super interested in is the skills building. But I think we covered it a little bit on your last session. So I have a really long conversation in Claude Chat and a really long conversation in Claude Cowork, and they're both, just for example, say job search. But we know they're not talking to each other. Do you know, is there a way, because I'm on my phone a lot, I talk in chat and I add to that project constantly in chat, but when I'm on my laptop, I want to do Cowork and all the stuff for the same project. Is there a way to combine the chat and the Cowork to all speak together?
Yeah, you should be able to migrate the data from project A, the Cowork side, over to, or excuse me, from the chat side over to the Cowork side. So that way it does all the stuff you created in chat, you just have to move, like take the project folders and drop it into Cowork. But to your point, as far as I know, that the back and forth, like it doesn't have access to the chat side, which is a little bit silly. I'm sure they'll add that in here. But yes, you are correct. If I talk and do a bunch of work in chat, I can't say, hey, Cowork, go and find this chat. it won't do that. You can within Cowork or within chat. Again, they're siloed functions. You can go into Cowork and say, hey, find me when we spoke about this or I created this. It'll find it in previous history. But in terms of the two-way street with the other side, it does not do that, unfortunately. That's a good question, though. So like for me personally, how I use Cowork, if I'm trying to create something like slides, for example, like this, and if I wanted to use, say, the chat side of stuff to start, because I talked about how I went on a walk this morning, and I went on a walk this morning. Recently, we had, and this is personal stuff, but it'll make sense in a second. We had a football coaches meeting. We have spring ball, excuse me, summer ball technically is coming up in a couple weeks. And so as a coaching staff, we met and we talked about the particular position group that I coach. And so today I was like, look, I want to go for a walk. And I literally just brain dumped everything on the chat side into that project folder and said, hey, create these slides for me. And then once I got back to my desk, it's now created. I then bring it over to Cowork from there. And I had to do a few tweaks from that point as well. So there's a little bit of manual piece that's added to it, but that's a good question. Other questions? Otherwise, I'll pull up this here. Oh yeah, go ahead. I see a hand raised. Ivana, sorry.
But not but and you could also in your Claude chat ask Claude, hey, how do I do this between you and Claude Cowork? And then Claude will just give you the steps on how to do that.
True. Yeah, you could do that.
When out, ask your Claude chat.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely like. There's been times where it's like hit a wall or the output's not there or whatever. It's like you can start a new chat. We've saved this in the memory. Just prompt us this way, and we'll be able to restart the conversation. So yes, there are times where you can use Claude to figure out Claude. Like I do that frequently as well with some stuff. That's a good.
Like Claude, how do I sync our chat with my Claude Cowork project so that you know what I'm talking about instead of copying and pasting. It'll give you step by step.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, use the tool to help yourself use the tool better. That's a good point. Which is also like kind of crazy. You do again, as with anything with AI too, sometimes you have to be a little bit like cautious if it doesn't give you the right stuff, because as you know, it can hallucinate too, or it's like, oh yeah, you're right, that's not correct. It's like, yeah, I know that's not correct. Like we need to fix this. But yes, I know there are times when I'm hitting a wall and I'll even ask Claude to like help me work through its own internal problems as well. Okay, we should be able to see my Claude Cowork now. I don't know why it's like only showing part of it. It's actually kind of annoying me. So again, just like this would be a like job order intake, right? So you get off a call and you want to, and I'll show here a few job order intake is a skill I created like this. I want to show this first. I'm going to jump around a little bit to help explain this a little bit better. But when I type in this particular slash, right? So slash job order intake, or it could be slash surgical prospecting, or it could be slash comp research, which we'll get into here in a minute, like that. Basically, what you're telling Claude in this moment is use this skill, aka use this agent to accomplish the task I'm about to give you. That's one way of prompting it to know exactly where to go to accomplish what you want accomplished. There are now, and I'm going to jump around here in a second, if you go into this customized tab, this is where all your skills are. And as you can see, mine's lengthy because I've created a bunch of them over time. Like here's the workshop post event processor that I created a couple weeks ago because it's just something I was doing repetitively. And I thought, hey, how do I save myself some time? And so I created this. But as you can see in here from the skills, it will break down exactly how you want Claude to go through this. Start by understanding the role. If I paste a job spec, which I'll show you an example here in a second, here's what I want. Here's the gaps I want you to ask about. Like ask me. I'm prompting it to ask me some questions as well. And then ultimately, here's the output I want. AKA, this is how it should look like each and every time you run this particular task. So it's uniform. And the beauty of this is if you already have a uniform submittal package that you're doing, you can take that submittal package, put it into Claude and tell it, this is what I want. Help me create this skill using this output. And it will do a pretty decent job of pulling it like this. And then every time moving forward, when you prompt it and say, hey, I want a candidate submittal package, this is what the output should look like each and every time. As you can see, it goes on and on. There's a bunch of stuff you can add on to it from here, but like that's literally what each one of these skills is telling it what to do. So job order intake, because that was what I was showing here. You can prompt it. This is my personal stance. I usually prompt it with the backslash, like so backslash job order intake. You can also coach up Claude, and I'll show it here. Up here like this, there's what you can set up triggers where you can say, hey, basically whenever Keely goes into, and if I say, hey, I need to create an intake brief, it knows then to use this skill. You don't necessarily have to hit backslash job order intake. I've just been doing that for a while. So for me, it's habitual at this point, but you can set it up where you don't even have to say, you say, hey, I want to write up an intake role for this. Write up the intake for X role. Claude then knows based on these triggers that you included up here. Again, they're basically just phrases. Okay, Keely told me to do this. I am now searching through my skills database. Okay, this is the skill because here's the trigger event. And then from this point forward, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to extract and organize the information. I'm going to build the doc from there, and then I'll present it back to Keely as well from that point. Did I write the prompts myself? Yes and no. Like candidly, some of them to an extent, like this one, for example, surgical prospecting is 100% Keely. And I say that because I had my processes dialed down manually that I want, and I'm very like particular of how I want this thing to turn out because here's all the different skills within this thing as well. I have a particular I want it to be done, so I was able to be very detailed in terms of here's the prompt, here's how I want it done. I basically brain dumped it into Claude and then turned it into that skill. For some of these other ones, like candidly, like this one, the workshop post event processor skill, this was a brain dump in like back and forth with Claude because I was doing this work over again. I was like, look, I'm getting these, I have this, I've having these workshops, I have a bunch of people on here. Like, what can I do with them? And after back and forth, it was finally able, and I say we as if like Claude's a real person. It's not, obviously. But by working with Claude and bouncing my ideas back and forth, this was the skill that was created as a result of that. Where again, step one, step two, like some of the stuff is mine. Like I wanted the LinkedIn URL because the original output I didn't love. And so I said, look, I want to know people's LinkedIn URL. Go and find these things. I use a tool called ocean.io. And so what it's going to do is it will default there to try to find people's information first. If it can't find from there, it then moves on to the onto like the World Wide Web and does a scan from that point. And then ultimately the goal is to create a batch output that that it will upload into HubSpot on my behalf. And then here's the output summary for me too. But good question. Yes. The more you know your own process, though, the more I encourage you to like create the skills. If you don't have a defined process, you do have to be a little bit careful if it's any sort of like client-facing material, I would say, just because this one, for example, and I know I'm off track here with this isn't fulfillment focused at all, but I think this is a good example of just how you can create skills for things you're doing repetitively. Like this one, if like this screws up, like if it's not like perfect, like no one really will know. It's behind the scenes. Like the only reason everyone knows about I'm doing this workshop post event process thing because I'm talking about it. But on the flip side, when it comes to where were we at? Not at the research brief, the candidate submission package. Here we go down here. Like this one, this is important to me because it's going to create something that's going to be presented to the client. And so I want to make sure I'm very particular with what I want to see and what I don't want to see. So I could go through this and say, like, once you create the skill, you can go through this yourself. And if you don't like it, you can change it. And you say, look, I don't like this. I don't want that, right? Like anyone that's ever used AI, they know that AI loves when doing any sort of writing. It loves M dashes and it loves to say some sort of phrase along the lines of like, here is why, or here's the reason why, or here, like whatever. Like anytime I see here is X, I know it's AI written basically nowadays. And so for me, because my skills were doing that themselves, I was like, look, I never want to see that stuff. I never want to see M dashes and I never want to see some sort of phrase of here it is. And so I went into the skill and changed it or added that in there, I should say, as a do not do. So it ensures that the output is not what I want. Or yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So I'm going to show, and this is, I wanted to like, I'll ask you in a minute. So I'll just show some real examples here real quick so the job order intake brief. So again, if we were doing this, it would be job order, I need job order intake on my call with BioCartis, like that. So I had a call like a week or so ago now at this point. Now it's going to do a bunch of stuff. I'll show the thought process when it's all said and done, but the final output, what you're seeing now is what should be produced here in a minute with Claude. I just didn't want to sit here and like us all stare at a Claude working through the process. This is the final result because I had a call with a client a week and a half ago. And now at this point, as you can guess, it was about a customer service agent / office manager role. And it broke down whether the must-haves, nice-to-haves, red flags why they're hiring. These are all questions I'm asking within the call itself to gather this data, because I have a very defined rec intake process myself I've been using for years. And so I just taught Claude a skill and said, look, this is what I want. Here's what I expect. Here's the formats I want out of it. Follow this sheet as a guideline. And then we create the skill from that point. And I even have down the interview stages, which candidly I'm working with them. That's way too many interview rounds for office manager. But, hey, when you work with a new client, you got to work with them a little bit from time to time. And then there's some open questions I still need to get answered back then that have not gotten answered since then. But things like exclusivity, like for me, that's important. And it identified, and candidly, this was a miss on my part, I forgot to ask that on the call. So because though I taught the skill to look for these things in the transcript, it came back and said, hey, you didn't ask this question. Like, you need to make sure you find out this information. So it's almost like my past self is helping coach up my future self, because I created this skill with a certain output. And if I miss something, it comes back and tells me. Same with like expected start time, although we got that taken care of, but it was that early start on the call. Okay, what the hell does early start mean, Keely? Like, that's basically because I trained it the right way. It's then identifying blind spots I even had on my own rec intake call as well. Questions on any of that stuff, because I'm doing a lot of show and telling right now, but which is good. That's the whole point, but just want to make sure. And again, like I said, it's taking everything. I got the full transcript because let's hopefully found the right one. Because of how I set up some stuff behind the scenes when it comes to my note taker, my G Drive, and how Claude set up with its connectors, because that's what it is. And I haven't gotten into that, and I'll get into that in a minute. But basically what Claude is doing, because of how this skill was created, it is going into my G Drive in a particular folder I set up, and I told it to go to. And then from there, it's then using this skill to create the output that you saw there a moment ago.
Hey, Keely,
Yeah.
I was going to ask, and you answered the question. So that sounds like it's going into your Google Drive. Can you set it up to where it'll go straight into like your database? Like for me, I use Crelate as long as I have the APIs.
Yeah, as long as you have the APIs, that's the key piece. Like, here, let me show an example here real quick. It's still working too. So there's the things called connectors. Every day, I've said this before, every day this changes in the sense that they add more connectors to it. And like for me, I use HubSpot. HubSpot's obviously one of the biggest CRMs in the world. So they, of course, are one of Claude's, I think they're called partners now or whatever. But basically, Claude can directly connect to HubSpot. It can directly, as you might saw on the left-hand side, I have Canva over here. I have my G Drive. I have Notion. Ocean, I had to create myself using something called an MCP. It's a Model Context Protocol. And to Shane's point about the API piece, that's where that comes in. If you have access to your API keys, you can set up an MCP with Claude and your other tool, so that way Claude can then access that tool and do some of the work you may want done on your behalf. And then within there too, and I didn't even get into this piece, one of the reasons why Cowork jumped off the screen at me and why I like it so much is some of the safety measures it has around it. Because of some of these connections and these MCPs, how it's set up is Claude doesn't have the ability to like delete anything within a database. It's just set up that way from a safety wise, which I was really happy about, because if anyone followed the OpenClaw situation, which rolled out in like November, December of last year, super cool open source agent, all cool stuff. It can also hallucinate and delete. Now, like you heard horror stories of people's databases being wiped out because of OpenClaw, because they didn't set it up the right way or hallucinate or whatever. And I saw that stuff. I'm like, I'm not a software engineer. I'm like, I don't know how the hell to do that. That scares the hell out of me. But when I saw Claude, it's like, yeah, no, we've set it up where it can't do that. I'm like, oh, sign me up for that one. I would rather take that safety precaution as well. And you could even customize it to like ask you for permission to do certain things within the tool itself. So like G Drive, it like this one here. So it needs to approve if it wants to get these certain file permissions. So if it ever hits this part in its task of doing something, it will stop and ask me, hey, Keely, you sure you want to let me do this? And I have to then approve it or not. Now, I haven't had any issues right now, but there are probably some safety measures in place you would want in particular areas where it has to give you approval. So again, like there's no deleting. You see down there, it says write/delete tools. That's not, it's just copy file and create file. It's not even allowed to create a file in my folder unless I say it can. That's what this little is right here. If I want to, I could turn it off and just say, hey, look, you're allowed to do whatever. Go crazy, Claude. You don't need to check in with me. But if you're like me and have a parent, like I'm a parent of 4 kids, I've got a 10-year-old, 8, 6, and 4 now. Like I check on everything. No one's got free range yet right now. And so they have to they need to get approval on me on doing certain things. I look at Claude the same way, where it's like, I don't trust you to completely execute all this stuff on my behalf. There are going to be certain things you're going to have to ask me for approval to do this stuff. Or you could also just say, look, you're never allowed to create a file on my G Drive. And the same goes for any of these things, like HubSpot as well. Like there's all this stuff on here you can allow it to do or not as a safety precaution. And that's within the connectors piece as well. All right. Other good question, Shane. That was perfect actually, because it led down the MCP side of stuff. There's scheduled tasks. I'll get in that in a minute too. I saw a couple things in chat. Yeah, $20. Cowork's free. Yeah. If not, what version? Yeah. So Larry, I always tell people start. Yeah, I think April even responded. I start with the $20 version. Always start there. Create some skills. See how much you use it, and if you see yourself hitting your limit consistently, then it tells you, hey, it's time to upgrade. And what's cool, it's about to reset in about 2 minutes now, actually, but I'm going to show you, for example, you can even see your usage for each day. So I have the 5X plan, so I pay $100 a month. And today alone, because there's certain they call it sessions, right, which is basically like working days, you're only allowed a certain usage in that given session. As you can see, for me, I've already used 50% today. Now, candidly, I probably was a little extra heavy using Claude today just because I was preparing for this call. I was doing some trial runs. I was making sure that some things were working out the way I expected it to. And so my usage is probably a little bit higher than it would normally be, but it will reset at 1 p.m. my time, Central Time. I will go back to 0 and I'll have a full day's worth of usage from that point forward. And then also it even has it broken down by the models you're using, how much you're allowed to use throughout the week and stuff. So ultimately, though, start with a $20 plan. See if you're hitting that consistently. Because when I started using Cowork, I was like, oh, $20, like this is cool. And like 3 days in a row, I had hit my max within like the first hour. Granted, I was like going crazy with like bouncing ideas and doing all these things. I was like a kid in a candy shop, and I was like, look, do I want to pay the $100? I was like, that seems a little bit much. And then I just went with it because I wanted to create some more things, and I've never looked back because of how often I use it. Like candidly, my pitch on Cowork in general for everybody on this call is it saves me so much time, like hours of work a day, because after every coaching call I have, or every, as you saw there, the job order intake, or if I have a candidate call, anything that has me having live conversations, and then afterwards there's some sort of process that occurs, a lot of administrative work, because we always do, with follow-up emails, updating our CRM, all that stuff. This has been an absolute game changer for me in terms of saving me time. Shane, I see you're sick yesterday. Yeah, no worries. Feel better. The sickness is running through our house right now, so I'm lucky that I haven't gotten hit yet, but my kids have got the cough. So
I hope and pray you all don't get the norovirus. Man, that was brutal.
Whooping your butt.
Yep, kicked my butt for sure. But anyways, hey, appreciate you, brother. We'll reconnect soon. All right, see you, man.
I'll see you. Okay, let me go back to. So I'm gonna go this real quick. As you can see here, what you saw, because again, this was the output you saw in my G Drive a minute ago. I just had it recreate it, and this is why I think it's so important to have the way you want it put out, so that way it's consistent as well. So as you can see, again, this is the stuff I pointed out before that I missed, like exclusivity, the exact start time. Those are the things that you saw in the other one. There was a save in the PDF, but it went in, it took the transcript, as you see the calls on April 29th, it pulled all this information, and it presented to me. If I had team members, again, it's just me, but if I had team members, this would be something I might be handing out to my recruiters. And I said, hey, look, here's the job order intake. This is your rec sheet to work off of to find the right person for this role. Other questions, anything thus far? Otherwise, I can show some of the other stuff too. I'll go to new task, just to restart that. So this one, actually, I had this, fun idea. Does anyone want to shout out like a position that they would be comfortable like sharing? Like again, basically tell me, hey, you have an intake call with what? Like what and where? And I'll put it into Claude, and we can see it like literally go to work right now. If anyone was willing to, I have a backup plan if no one does say it. But if you want to shout out what you want, like I have an intake call. Okay, there we go. Intake call for an AE. I'm gonna put Chicagoland because that's where I am now. If it's done correctly, it should ask me in a second. It'll probably ask me what round, like what, whether it's Series A, Series B, C, in terms of what the startup is. But as you can see now, it's going to then run. You saw that run the skill. No, I don't need that. No, sorry. I meant comp research. There you go. Again, I'm not perfect with it either. Like there's times like, oh yeah, no, I didn't mean that one. Because I went and found the job order intake. That's not the skill I want. I wanted to find, just to show you, for example, I want to find the comp research brief. That's the skill it should be looking for right now. I'm even going to copy it to be safe. Here we go. Let's AE startup Chicagoland. Just need a few more to make the research accurate. So it's going to ask me some questions. Here we go. So what experience level? You could prompt it though, or you can have a better prompt yourself. And again, I just threw it out there and say, look, I want to find it for AEs of Series B companies in Chicagoland. But here we go. Like, let's just say mid-market. There's the stage I was talking about, early stage. I have no range yet, right? I'm going to this call. Maybe I'm going to a call tomorrow with a client. And it's the first time I'm working in the Chicagoland area for SaaS AE roles within Series B, C to Series B. As you can see here, it's going to then start searching the web. And if you have your own tool sets or own way of getting data like this, I would recommend you start there. Like have it go into whatever your database is. Maybe it can pull past pay rate ranges. If not, though, like me, if you're just starting fresh, you'd say, okay, cool, go and do this. You saw it pop up for a second. It was running through all those different websites for me. And in a minute here, it's going to present me an answer to the question of what is the comp plan for an AE in this particular area. And this is the skill again. This is the wrong skill because I prompted it the wrong way. So this is the skill we actually want running. And as you see, it's going through right now, and it's about to present it back to a nice clean format. Questions on any of this? Because again, this is always the awkward spot for me when we're just sitting here waiting for Claude to do stuff. It's cool though, right? Like you don't have to. I mean, again, it ran through what 15 websites probably in the last 30 seconds. I don't have to do that stuff. Like I get to sit back and relax for a minute while it's doing some of the work for me. And what hopefully again, sorry, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
no, sorry.
I was gonna say what's cool is the output piece. Like the output piece should be good because you could then come to a call tomorrow. Again, I'm hypotheticaling this. You come to a call tomorrow and have this to present to a client and say, well, hey, I did my research. Here's what I came back with. Your pay rate is X. Here's what I'm seeing from the data is Y. We have a gap of 10K, 15K, whatever it is, right? And that, again, there's power in having data and information to back up the reasons why we're pushing clients to change their interview process or change their comp structure plan or whatever. It's not just well, I feel like it. It's like, no, here you go. Here's the data to back me up. So go ahead, Lauren. Sorry.
No, that's no problem. I was wondering if you would be able to show us how to set up a skill from scratch. You might have already done this on the last one that I wasn't on. So apologies if you have, but yeah, that would be good to see.
Yeah. So here, it's almost done. Before I click on anything, another key piece to add to everything we're talking about is when you're asking Claude or use ChatGPT, like again, LLM in general. If you're asking an LLM to do some sort of research, it's really important that you ask it to provide its source material. AK, where'd you get this information from? Because if you don't, there may be times where it cannot find what is factually true. And as a result, it will give you a fake answer. Like it will literally make something up. And there's been times I've had that happen. Like, there's no way this is right. And Claude will come back like, yeah, no, you're right. I made it up. I'm like, okay, well, that's a problem. Like, had I gone into a call thinking this was gospel, I would have been in a lot of trouble. And so that's why I think it's important because here within the skill, if I remember how I set up correctly, I told it, show me where you got this information from. So we're about to open this up now on the right-hand side. Here you go. Nice little clean layout like this. And if I want to back up the validity of this, like if I'm looking at this, if this is my space, if I work in the AE SaaS space, Chicagoland, I might be like, look, like 75K is like, that's probably wrong, right? There's no way this is right. And then I personally would then go in and take the few minutes to look through each one of these websites to verify where it got its data from. But if this is about accurate for me, if I'm like, yeah, that's about right. Most of my clients are paying you. That's 90K is about roughly what I see. It's like, wow, this is pretty. When it's all said and done, I'll open up my G Drive here in a second just to expand it a little bit better. I've got myself a nice, like, clean data sheet I could bring on a call if I wanted to. Well, let's see. Here's some of the problems you run into with Claude, though. It doesn't always format things perfectly over. It tried to shift it over my G Drive and it messed up. And this will happen. Like, it messed up. It'll probably run through a few things. I just want to show an example of what happens when things screw up. Like I'll just bounce ideas back with him. Like, look, this is wrong. It'll go through. It'll tell me like, yes, G Drive has issues with this type of heading and formatting. And it'll make some tweaks. Whenever I run into issues like that, I typically just say, hey, save this as a PDF. That usually solves all issues too. Small little thing as well. So back to your thing, Lauren, about creating the skills. All right, how do I want to like answer this question? Who wants to shout out something you do repetitively? And maybe I'll try to create a skill on the call right now because I'm fine with doing that. Who wants to say like, yeah, I do this every single week or day or whatever? Interview prep. Okay. All right. So it's a good starting point. And when you say interview prep, April, you're talking about you preparing to speak to the candidate or prepping the candidate for the upcoming interview?
For the upcoming interview with all the directions, maybe if it's on site, how to get their address, or if it's virtual, how to prepare and be, all the things that you tell them to get ready for, either virtual or on site. Maybe it could even be in one email. Probably not. That's too much.
Yes, I was muted myself real quick. All right, let's do this. So this is how I might approach it. If I don't, and again, I would have my own probably way I'd want it done, but this is how I'd probably start. I want to create a skill, help my candidates with interview prep. Things I want to see within the skill are not driving. If it's on site, I actually like this one. Parking directions, who they are meeting with, duration of the interview, why people have been successful and others have failed. And this is where some of the back half work would come in, like use my intake order call to help craft this. And then here's the key piece. Ask me. I will typically, if I'm starting something, I have no clue what I'm doing with it. Like I'm just like, look, I'm just going to bounce some ideas off of it. I will brain dump some thoughts, and then I'll say, hey, ask me some questions before you start going to work on it. Because going back to, two reasons. One, if you force it to ask you questions, it can only make it better as a result in terms of the final product. And then two, you're not like me in the beginning where I was like burning through tokens left and right because I was like, oh, go and do this. I'm like, no, this is wrong. No, this is wrong. It's like, it's constantly going through and burning up tokens over and over and over again. When if I just said, hey, ask me a few questions before you get executing on this, it would have saved me a lot of time. So I said I wanted my job order intake call. So I'm going to say, because that's where a lot of my stuff are, I want it to be, I want Word doc and email draft because April, you said that as well. So I want that as well. And how specific do you want? Yeah, we'll say role specific from the intake because if we're asking these questions on it, if you're asking these questions like on the call, like what makes someone successful, why people not worked out. Again, this goes into like your own personal processes. If you're asking this stuff on those calls, it can then help your skill be better later on to do something like this. Chances are now what I'm curious is like, where's it going to go? I didn't tell it where to find an order intake call. So it'll be interesting to see, but it's going to try to create the skill from there. And then we'll be able to run it live from that point forward. Other questions this thing's running, by the way, because this is the awkward. Yeah. It's, I mean, again, Lauren, like it's really, I said it on the last call. I think it's a Disney saying, right? If you dream it, you can build it. Like if you can dream something up, you can build this thing. Now, anyone can do it. This is what I would say. Anyone can do it. I can do it. I've done it. The issue that most people run into is one, they don't have their own clear processes, so it can create some mumble jumbled mess. And two, there is a lot of trial and error. And so you're going to have to sink some time investment into getting these things right. But the beauty is once done right, we then have a skill, aka an agent, we can go back to that will save us a lot of time moving forward. Like, here you go. I'll build the skill. So it's building the skill first, right? It's trying to build it. We'll see what it comes up with. Honestly, like chances are the first run through will be like solid. And I'll be like, no, I don't like this. I don't want this. And I'll update it and I'll change it and I'll do stuff from there. And over the course of the next 20 to 30 minutes, yeah, I might create a skill that I would say, yes, I think this is good enough. So
Keely,
yes.
Sarah. I have a question about, I know like on the first call you had mentioned like, you'll just take a walk and like talk into Claude or whatever. We had a Talent Collective AI event yesterday, and one of the tools that was brought up because she uses Whisperflow. to talk into to do it. And so, and I didn't get a chance to ask because I was hosting it, but like, why would somebody use that instead of just speaking into Claude? Like, what's the difference?
Why? I think, ironically enough, I was just looking at Whisperflow yesterday for some reason. I think, Whisper, because that works with like your computer, your calls. I want to say your phone calls as well, if I recall correctly. So it helps capture all that stuff. Claude, in terms of talking into it, the only way I know how to do it, because I've never done it on my computer, it's like on my phone. It has to make a live talk into it. And so the Whisperflow, I guess the value in that is you just go about your day, it captures the transcripts, and then what I would do if I'm that person is have Claude either integrate directly into Whisper, which I don't know if it does or not, or at the very least, if Whisper drops the transcripts into a particular area, I would then give Claude access to that area to then pull the transcripts and create whatever output I want from that point forward. So, like, again, for me, candidly, let's see if I can find one that I've already run.
Yeah, because she was using like, and she also used, a lot of people use Granola for like note taking.
Sure.
Yeah. And did that. But then like, I mean, she was doing like live ones just like you are. And so she would like, she was saying like she would bring up Whisperflow and she was talking into her computer while doing it.
Okay.
So, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess either one. Like I use the transcript feature with Claude just walking out and about for like business activities. I use TLDV is my note taker, and I'm showing you like a real thing. So I had a call with the client on May 11th, as you can guess from there. I prompted it to run through a particular set of things that I want after every one of my coaching sessions. One of them is to draft up the email based on our call. Another one is to take all the processes we created on the call together and create this nice clean sheet, because with everyone I work with, I help them create their own playbook. And I take a lot of what we talked about, put it in this thing, and then add it on to the existing playbook I've created with Joel. I used to do all this stuff like manually, and manually in the sense of like I still have the note taker, but I have to go in, drop the transcript into Claude, then extract certain things and all this stuff. I don't do it anymore. I literally, yesterday, this is what you saw. I typed this, and no joke, I went for a walk. Like I literally, after most of my coaching calls, I will prompt it, tell it to do something, and I go for a 10-minute walk. By the time I sit back down, it has the stuff drafted up for me. It's connected to my G Drive in a particular folder. Let's see if we open this up now. Yeah, I always hate how it doesn't show you exactly what's happening behind the scenes. But basically, it was pointed to a particular folder on my G Drive, which is where all the transcripts go. It then goes into that, grabs the transcript, aka the call I had with Joel on the 11th, and from that point forward, created all this stuff. It created the document for me, and although I forgot to this, update HubSpot. This is a miss on my part. And now I'm going to say, hey, update HubSpot. So it'll update HubSpot based on our conversation we had yesterday too, because Claude is connected with my HubSpot to do some of the stuff on my behalf. So I know it's a very long answer to your simple question of why use one note taker versus not. I think it's just a matter of how you're already using it. I like the Claude walk and talk just as a brain dump. When it comes to stuff like this, though, like candidly after this call, I'm going to take the transcript, drop it into a folder, and I'll have Claude go crazy and do some stuff with it from there. Like here, I mean, here's like, again, talk about the chats piece. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but like this is my walk and talk today. It was football stuff. Like this is me. These are like Keely talking on his walk, literally talking, done, talking, done, talking, done. And at the very end, it said, create this, create these slides for me based on everything we just talked about. And from there, it'll open up here in a second. It took all the stuff I just brain dumped on my walk and created this bad boy, which again, no one cares about because no one's a football person probably in here as much as I am. But this, like, as you can see here, like, is it perfect? No, like this drives me bonkers, right? But would it have taken me probably 3 to 4 hours to create this initial draft? Yeah, probably. Now I can go in and be like, yeah, no, I obviously need to fix the fact that the lines are all wrong. Let me move this a certain way. It would have taken me 4 hours. It's going to take me 10 to 15 minutes to edit from a formatting perspective, and we're done. Okay. See, and you can see here too, like this is a small little thing, but like right now, all these things are running right now. Like, although this shouldn't be running. I don't know what this is running on. Oh no, it's still doing research. Oh, because I told it messed up. So it's trying to fix the issue it messed up. So like these little bubbles here say it's still running. This one would be like, hey, look, you're done. And now it updated. It found Joel. It updated its stuff. It updated the processes for it, logged the note for me. And we have a task set for May 17th for our next call. All this stuff done without me having to do anything. And here's what I mean. Oh, perfect. I'm glad this asked this. So going back to what I showed you a little bit ago with the create a file function in G Drive, and just a quick reminder, and I know I'm jumping around a million miles a minute, but again, connectors, and then G Drive. This one right here, create a file. I told it, you have to ask me. If you want to create something in my G Drive, you have to get permission from Keely. Now we go back to this because it messed up with that original output. It said, okay, I'll just try to put it into the folder for you. It went and created all the stuff, but now it's at the final stage. It says, okay, Keely, are you going to allow me to do this? You could, if you wanted to, turn it on to allow always. I might say, look, I'm going to allow this time around, Claude. I don't trust you always. So this time you're allowed to do it. Go ahead and drop that into my folder and save myself some time. What was the other one too? Because I'm the job order stuff. Oh, right. Build the interview prep skill. Let's see what it came up with. See, it's still working, right? Like, it could take a while. Yeah. So here you go. Like, this is fake. Like, I don't know who these people are. I've never spoken with these individuals, so it's making some things up. Again, gotta be a little bit careful with some of the AI things, but what it's trying to do, which I do appreciate, the reason why it's making these things up, and maybe you can see up at the right hand side, it's just creating dummy data to run this skill through it, through its paces to see if it's working properly. And here in a minute, it'll show me like, yes, this worked. No, it didn't. Here's the output. Do you want to tweak? And then go from there. Other questions? That was a good one. That was like kind of a tangent there about how do you create a skill, but there's quite a few ways. There's quite a rabbit hole you can go down with Claude, clearly. Cool. So I was on here. We've only got like 10 minutes left or so. I'm probably not going to go into every one of these now. I mean, candidly, I didn't plan on going every one of these. There's only so much time you can go over stuff. I will pull up this. Let's see if it finished. And then in the meantime, I'm going to pull up a couple other examples I had already prepared just to show this one and this one as well. So we should be able to see on my screen right now the comp research brief. We already did a live demo of the Chicago one. Here's another one I did in anticipation of today's call, just to be safe. As you can see, it even got it where it got the data from. Again, make sure you add quotes where it gets its data from. This is what I wanted to show, though, because this is the candidate submission package. So it takes the call I had with the candidate the other day and then creates a submittal package I can send to my client. And I did send this. This is exactly what I sent over to them. I have to make any changes. Here's their education. Here's, again, bill rate. It's a contract role. Here's when they're able to start, so on and so forth. But all this skill was created by me, and I just dropped in my call notes, my own thoughts on the candidate. I put in the job description, and ultimately created this nice, clean package. Again, it's candidate, because I didn't want to put the candidate's name, and I sent it over to my client. And this is I did show this one, yeah, the workshop intake brief as well. After you get off the call, you can have it create the stuff for you too. All right, what questions we got, guys and girls? Sorry, hit end sharing, or no? There we go. Am I still sharing, or did it go away? I'm always bad at Zoom. More of a Google Meets guy. Gone. Okay, cool. Thank you, Ripple. All right, what question? How did you say we get the recordings? Oh, thank you, Tate. I'll grab that right now. If anyone's got questions, just feel free to shout them out as I grab this link. No questions? Means Keely did a great job. Awesome. I love to hear that. Thank you, everyone, for the feedback. Here. Here you go. Yeah, if you drop it in, I'll be able to send out the replay there if you haven't already. Some people have already done that. You're already in the Kajabi system. I'd already planned. Candidly, you're just tagged a certain way, so I'll be able to send it out to everybody as well. So everyone's thoughts on this? Everyone's like, wow, this is really cool. Holy crap, this is a lot. I had a call with someone the other day, because candidly, right from a self-promotion perspective, I've done a couple more of these workshops, and I keep having people reach out saying like, hey, can you do this for me? And so I've created a done for you package. If you're interested, I'm happy to get on a call. Candidly, I tried to put together specific pricing on it and this, that, and the other. And honestly, it's one of those, in a good way, it's one of those things where I won't know the amount of work that needs to get done into this until I get on a call with you and talk through what you want to accomplish, because I've gotten on some calls with people and they're like, yeah, I just want to do one thing. I just want to do April, your point. I want to interview prep skill. Okay. We're creating it right now. That's fine. Other people have basically asked me to create their a whole recruitment department for them with some of the skills they have. And so it's going to be a little bit different in terms of pricing. But if you're interested in having that discussion, I just dropped my calendar link to have a talk on particularly this thing. If you do want to work with me one-on-one too, This is becoming more and more with my one-on-one clients that I work with on a weekly basis, where we're creating these things in addition to helping from a sales side too. Yeah, it'll definitely, I mean, it's a great tool, Larry. It'll help a ton. Yeah, get down and dirty is a good way of saying it. Like it is. It's again, I'm not a technical person. I would say to anybody on this call, the only reason, and this might not even be true, the only reason like I'm ahead of the people on this call is because of the time I put into it. Like since January 12th, I've been in every single day. Like it's at this point hundreds of hours I spent in this damn tool to get it the way I want it to work the right way. And everyone on this call you can go do the same thing. Like you are fully capable, I'm sure, with the back and forth getting this done the right way. But if you do want to shorten that learning curve and just say, hey, look, I don't have the time to do it, that's when you schedule that call with me. I'll scope out the work for you. I'll present the full pricing of like, hey, here's all the skills you want. Here's what it costs for me to do it. And if you want to move forward, great. And if you said, look, no thanks, like awesome, so be it. I'll figure out myself. Totally fine as well.
Do you think that you're just gonna like, I feel like what's happening in the world of all these tools, because everybody was like in chat and then everybody's like, now it's Claude and then it's Claude Cowork. Like, do you think that like you see yourself here for a little while, or is it going to be like, because you've put so much time and effort into doing it, and then like, or is there going to be another tool that's going to come out? Like,
yeah, it's a great question. Will there be another tool? Absolutely. Like I fully expect it. And part of what I do nowadays is look at other tools. I was looking at something yesterday. It was like a safer open claw. I was like, I should look into a little bit of this as well. But I saw something recently that made a really good point. There's a lot of people who jump from tool to tool. Chat one week, Claude the other week, this the other week. It's like, look, each one of these tools is only going to get better, and they're all racing against each other to have the best models. You're better off just like staying within one model and getting really good at that. Like, okay, if someone comes back to me, it's like, why are you using Claude? Like they're only at 85%, AGI, the whatever that AGI is, the like AI becoming cognizant. I forget what it stands for. It's like, oh, I'm sure some tech nerds like, well, ChatGPT is 90% on the right and Claude's only 85. Like, I don't care. The 5% difference isn't worth the hundreds of hours it would take for me to get ChatGPT up the way I want, the way I've done with Claude. I'd rather just stay in my lane with Claude now, my Cowork stuff from this point forward. And so be it if it's a little bit behind the other one. I don't care. Like, I guess is how I'd say it. That's a great question. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be new tools. I will say this though. The other thing that gives me confidence is it does feel like it's kind of a two-person race, right? OpenAI versus Anthropic. So I'm like, look, like as long as Anthropic's not the MySpace to Facebook, I should be fine, right? It'll be around for the long term, and so I'm willing to like bet my time investment on it to be worthwhile from now until till AI takes all of our jobs, as people say.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? That's a good question though. Yeah, I mean, because yeah, I was using like before Cowork came out too, and I didn't even say this, I was using ChatGPT. I was paying $20 a month for each of them. I was using them both. I was bouncing between the two, whatever. When Cowork came out, I said, I canceled my OpenAI subscription. Like, I'm just going all in on Cowork because I think it's super cool. I love the fact I can create things on my computer. Like one of the things was like, it'll help you organize your files on your computer. And I have hundreds of transcript calls of the last 3 years with people. One of the very first things I did was I took Claude, pointed it to that folder and said, create for me this particular document. And it went and read through like 100 plus transcripts and presented back like my, some key data points I like to use for my own personal business. Other questions. A great one though. Yeah. I mean, you're right. Like, hey, maybe open it. I mean, unless the tool is literally like, what is it, sentient or whatever, like above everything else, like I'm cool with the fact that maybe Anthropic's not the absolute greatest one in the world. Yeah, like here we go. I was like, where was this thing? Like here's a case in point of what I mean about like pointing it at. Like I had it review, and this isn't even all of them, right? I had it review 85 discovery calls I had over the last like couple months in between December, like November, December, and January, and I had to create all this stuff for me on the left-hand side. Which would have taken me forever to do. So I was like, look, like right when I saw the Cowork, I'm like, yep, sign me up. I'm like, cool. You can go to my folders and help me organize some stuff. Hell yeah. And since then I've been hooked on Cowork. Okay. I think that's it for questions. No one else is coming in with questions. So, I got another call here in about 4 minutes anyway. So I'll give myself a cup of water, and thank you everyone for jumping on. Again, if you want the replay, grab the link. If you want to talk AI, the Cowork stuff, please schedule time with me. And then lastly, of course, if you do want one-on-one coaching, that's my main business. This is becoming more though, because of the asks and requests. I'm happy to have that discussion with you as well. But thank you so much for taking the time out of Wednesday. Appreciate it, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Take care.